Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called A Species Most Vile, written by intellectualgulf. Noah Graxel stepped onto the stage and slowly looked across the thousands of gathered learners. Members of many species were present, and he felt justifiably proud of his status as the most renowned ancients scholar. He walked to the podium in the center of the stage and found a comfortable position to stand as he prepared to speak. He did not have to wait for the crowd to quiet. These were learners, after all, and silent respect of a Noah was the norm. All who can think and know of their own existence must know of the scourge that was the ancients. Remnants of the ancients are scattered across the cosmos, and life across the universe continues to struggle even now, 1,000 years after their ultimate defeat. The Federated Worlds did not wish to erase a species from existence, yet the ancients would not accept any rule except their own. They crafted weapons capable of destruction beyond comprehension, shattered planets, and swallowed stars. The dominion of the ancients was vast, and their enigmatic technological creations are still being found underground, orbiting stars and tumbling aimlessly through the void. He waved one of his three-fingered hands, and an image was projected onto the large blank area of the wall behind him. A soft gasping sound rushed through the audience, and Noah Graxel was not perturbed by the interruption. The image was terrifying indeed. On the wall behind Noah Graxel was an image of a damaged ancient battleship surrounded by the detritus of battle. Clouds of gas and ice, massive pieces of shattered metal hull and support structures, random debris, and, if one looked very closely, thousands upon thousands of corpses. The ancients were an implacable force, turning every world that they conquered into a new piece of their war machine. Only through what some have called nefarious means were the Federated Worlds able to finally turn the tide and defeat the ancients. Their immune systems were discovered to have a fatal flaw, which was exploited through genetically manufactured viruses. The ancients' immune system, like all other life, attacked and consumed viral contagions. The genetic information of normal viruses is made a part of the immune system's arsenal, incorporating the genetic information into their own cells to create correctly configured immune response cells in the future. The ancients, however, developed on an extremely harsh world, and so they lived very rapid and aggressively energetic lives. Their physiology reflected this in many ways, but the focus I'll take today is their immune system. Unlike most other forms of life, the ancients developed in an incredibly aggressive environment, which meant that life on their planet that could reproduce faster than it does was the most successful. Elsewhere in the universe, most species develop symbiotic relationships with the environment and other life forms, allowing for a much slower and more careful development. The ancients' immune system was a single-layer system, meaning it did not have any means to confirm that the immune system itself had not been compromised. All other living beings have a multi-layered immune system that should and does inspect the larger system overall and respond to compromised cells. Noah Graxel made a turning motion with his hand, and the projection changed to a picture of a pod of missiles being loaded into a starship missile bay. The virus our scientists created turned the ancients' immune system against them and spread like a plasma reaction into zero gravity. Within weeks of delivering the virus, the ancients' entire battle fleet was infected, but from the logs recovered from their ships, they did not expect anything out of the ordinary. The initial systems reflected those of a common illness amongst the ancients, exactly as designed, and the more deadly symptoms did not present for months or years after infection. Graxel made a rotating gesture again with his hand, and the projection changed to a zone of influence map of the galactic neighborhood. 3/4 of the map was washed in red, but then, over the next several minutes, the red tide receded, and other colors blossomed into some, but not nearly all, of the lost ground. The plague we inflicted the ancients with crippled their military over several solar cycles, and we expected that we could simply wait for them to all die. The virus did not end the war as expected. In one last terribly destructive act, the ancients destroyed hundreds of inhabited worlds. This behavior still remains the key tenet in the argument for their eradication. They would not cede ground, they would not give up a single system, and if they were pushed back, they would destroy everything in their path of measured retreat. The ancients must have known they were dying, and that the federated worlds were responsible. Because within 6 solar cycles of the first casualties from the plague, they became incredibly aggressive. The federated worlds were still very confident, however, that careful herding of the ancients would see their malevolent, malicious form of life die alone. The red map shrunk down to approximately 30% of its original size, with other colors representing factions of the federated worlds tentatively following. Then the red circles shattered, and thousands of red lines shot across the map. The red lines sliced through every occupied system controlled by federated worlds. The ancients had not been retreating as they moved back from the front lines and razed system after system. They had been converting their entire species into soldiers. It is thought that quite literally the entire ancient species was involved in the effort to create a fleet that had not and never would be seen again. Every single spacefaring vessel, and many which were not created for the purpose, was converted into a troop carrier and fitted with blind jump faster than light drive. When they launched their assault, the federated worlds were completely unprepared, because no other species had ever made itself in entirety into a weapon, and then launched that weapon against all other life in the universe. An ancient ship of some kind was launched at every single star system. Some carried thousands, while others carried only a few. But every ship carried ancients and one or more of their terrible bombs. Thousands of worlds were damaged in the assault, and those that survived did so mainly out of luck. The ship that was meant for the Jancretal system, our system, hit an asteroid after the blind FTL jump. The projection changed again, this time showing a massive asteroid cracked in half with a rather large hole through the middle. The ancients' death spasm almost completely destroyed the federated worlds, but their rage-induced attempt to completely kill all life failed. They did not target our infrastructure well enough. They did not take out our emergency reserves. They did not burn all of our food-producing planets. The ancients were considered to be a terrifying enemy from a militaristic standpoint, but their strange and futile last effort failed. One of the learners stood up, and the entire crowd gasped at the impertinent interruption. "Excuse me, Noah Graxel. One, I feel it is incorrect not to share the knowledge of the other reason for their final act." Noah Graxel made a slashing motion with his right hand and stared pure contempt at the learner. "There is no other knowledge of a reason for their final murderous act, learner, and I question that you were raised from listener status if you believe that such words without foundation are true knowledge." The learner wilted slightly, then looked behind Graxel at the projection and found some courage. "I do know that they may have had another reason for their final act. The ancients did not only target inhabited worlds, many of their ships jumped to unknown coordinates across the stars. There is knowledge that they were most likely trying to buy time, to flee so far that no one would find them and they might survive." The learner raised his own hand and pointed at the projection, and Graxel was forced to turn his head slightly to see what the impertinent learner was indicating. "That is the enemy our ancestors could not win against. That is the enemy that never tired. That marched across the stars with implacable force. That is the enemy that the federated worlds collapsed stars to try and destroy. That is the enemy that offered peace at the cost of kneeling. That is the enemy that we are taught had to be defeated through a crime against life itself. And that thing is what we should not forget. The fact the knowledge is unpalatable does not make it less true." "Silence, learner! Those words have no foundation and are meaningless besides. No ancients survived the plague, so it matters not if they chose to die in the void or in battle. The plague killed them all, without a single exception. That species that you say we should remember is gone and will be forgotten. Nothing could have survived the cancer. Raxel finished his point by also gesturing at the image on the projector, the image of a dead ancient riddled with tumors. The creature was laying on a surgery table, its false armor removed and its strange features visible to all, nearly devoid of hair, with front-facing eyes, a deceptively thin and small-looking mouth, and only 2 arms and 2 legs. The body was awfully warped by the tumors everywhere on its body, and Graxel felt reassured by the image that nothing alive could have survived something so vile as cancer. 2,000 years earlier, ancient empire, core world. God damn it, Evelyn. We shouldn't be running. Those bastards offered us a treaty and poisoned our entire race. Evelyn turned to look at Adamentus and smiled slightly. I know you wish to die in battle, my love. You're still the foolhardily stubborn mate I captured all those years ago. Adamentus frowned momentarily, and then saw a coy smile peeking past the sad expression on Evelyn's face. Her capricious nature could always pull him away from the dark fires of his rage. Gods be damned, I hate this. They won't even tell us where we're going. For all we know, we could be jumping into the heart of a star. Evelyn's heart sang in grief, and she had to turn away from Adamentus. She had resolved to tell him after the jump that they were not jumping blind. They were one of 5 targeted delivery ships, and she was the only crew member allowed to know their true purpose. The rulers of the ancients had made the battle plans, but the scientists had made the contingency survival plans, many thousands of years before the ancients had left their home world barren and lifeless. They had murdered their own planet in an act of contrition in the last days of the Exodus. They had begun to seed another habitable planet within the system with the seeds of life. Now Evelyn and the unknowing Adamentus were bound for that long-forgotten blue planet with several hundred ancient children carefully selected as diverse breeding stock. It pained Evelyn that Adamentus was being led to see only the dark, but it could not be helped. He was a soldier. If he were allowed to know the real details of their mission, he would try to raise a new army, a new species of ancients that would inherit the sins of their fathers. It was better for the universe to forget the ancients, and so she would give her people a new start. It just meant betraying everything that she loved. End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Dragzoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.